Hey guys, welcome to a new. Oh, what are you doing here, Stumpy? I'm not Stumpy anymore. I am Super Daryl. Why is your D backwards? That represents how I turn around criminals. Why is your cape made out of toilet paper? It represents how I keep the city clean. Because toilet paper cleans? Yeah, okay, well, what's your superpower? Haven't thought about that yet. You want to help me with that? Okay, how about super disappearing action? Let's try it right now. Ugh, little bastard. Okay, anyway, guys, welcome to a new review. This time I'm going to be reviewing the NECA Superman DC Collectibles figure. I guess this is Superman the movie version, Christopher Reeve. Yeah, I wasn't 100% sure of what to call that. But anyway, let me get him off of his fake flight stand here. And here we have the NECA Superman. I have to raise my camera a bit. Okay, so this guy is really nice. I suppose I should take a look at the box in a second, but he's very nice. Just looking at him, you can immediately get the nostalgic feeling for the Superman movie, Superman 2, but none of the others. If you like Superman 3 or Superman 4, then you're probably one of those people who can stand the Transformer movies. Not that I'm saying you have bad judgment. Maybe I have bad judgment in not liking them myself. I don't know. Please subscribe even if you don't like me now. Okay, anyway. Here's the package, and it has some beautiful crystals on it that are very reminiscent of the movies. That's, I believe these are the, like, control panel part type stuff where he slips crystals in and it does stuff or something like that. And then there's the Superman logo in silver. Then up here it says DC Collectibles, which is kind of strange that NECA was able to make figures of Superman, Batman, stuff like that. Since NECA hasn't been able to do that, they've been making 18-inch figures of these characters, because in this scale, Mattel owns the rights, but I guess they passed on some of the rights just to make these few movie versions and stuff. So they've made the Heath Ledger in this wave, they made Heath Ledger Joker, and then they've made Christopher Reeve Superman, as well as the Adam West Batman. So I might pick up the Adam West Batman in the future, but I don't know. He has some weird jowls that don't look right to me, and his neck looks like a chicken neck. I don't know, it's weird. And then in the background here, you also get a very nice landscape. This is a nice package to display him in, so if you're not an open collector, the package is beautiful. Okay, and it has a bit of a read-up. Rocketed to Earth from the dying planet Krypton, baby Kal-El was found by a farming couple who named the boy Clark Kent and raised him as their own. Discovering his enormous powers, they instilled in him strong moral values and inspired him to become a hero. Now, disguised as Clark Kent, bumbling, mild-mannered reporter for the Daily Planet, he uses the powers given to him by Earth's yellow sun to wage a ceaseless battle against crime and injustice. So that's pretty fair. I mean, that's his character bio. It's not really the bio of the movie, and I know it leaves a lot out, but that's acceptable. Okay, images of prototypes shown, final product may vary. And that's fair because if you notice, this guy's wearing a more purplish suit, whereas that's a very blue color, and that doesn't look like the same expression that he has, really. Yeah. But we'll take a close look at the figure in a second, and I would like to point out these sculptors. Let's see, Kyle Windrix, that's a cool guy. His brother recently got a figure. His brother was dying of cancer, and they gave him like a last wish type thing, and he got an alien figure named after him, as well as sculpted as him and painted. It's Kyle Windrix, so his brother was like Craig Windrix, I believe. Sad story. Let's move on. Photography, all that stuff, shout-outs to all those guys. But Adrian Smith and Kyle Windrix, they're the boss for sculpting such a beautiful thing here. And then there's a choking hazard, not for children under 3 years. However, it says ages 14 and up, so you're suggesting it for ages 14 and up, but you're saying children under 3 years shouldn't play with it. So can you hand it to a 4-year-old, but not supposed to give it to a 14-year-old? They can't make up their own minds. It's craziness. Okay, so there's the package. Very nice. And now here we have the magnificent figure, which I am so glad that I have this figure because Christopher Reeve is my favorite Superman. I know the new guys Henry Cavill, he's doing a good job. He's very Superman-y, and they've got the right amount of muscle on him, so that works. But I just like this Superman because he embodied all of the good spirit that Superman should have, as well as the overall look. He has black hair, blue eyes, he's a tall guy. It just all works together. And his physique may not be as ripped, but it worked for the time. No one was muscle-bound hairy back then. And they pulled that off pretty well with this figure, even though it's weird. They gave him a rubber upper half here that sort of like pushes in, if you notice. Weird. I would have preferred if this was a solid piece up here, but I guess the rubber has to do with some sort of, maybe the cape, so that the cape can attach into there. I'm not quite 100% sure what the story of that is. But they went for rubber on the middle part and the crotch part, or underpants part. And then the legs and arms and head, that's all normal plastic. You may notice there's a slight difference in the way his arms are colored compared to the midsection. Just slightly different. Might not even be noticeable on camera. But anyway, let's get a close-up of his face. And yeah, it definitely has the Christopher Reeve likeness. I like that a lot. They did a magnificent job capturing Christopher Reeves here. And yeah, Chris had a sad death and a very sad life, but instead of talking about all the sad stuff, let's talk about Superman. That movie, man, I just saw it in the theaters a little bit ago at my Bob Hope Theater down here, and it was fun. It's really fun to see it in big screen. I saw it like if, a regular movie theater. It was more like a huge stadium with a giant movie theater screen and played the whole movie. It was fun. People came down from miles away just to see it. It was quite an event. And this figure is great. So let's go over. The sculpt is very nice. You may notice there's a little fabric type of sculpt into there, so that catches little fabric looking seams, there we go, in the sculpt. That looks nice. His hair is very nicely sculpted, and I like the paint. It's very glossy on his hair because he had like this weird gel all over his hair. He's got the nice swoop, which is a separate piece that's attached here. You can tell it's been like glued on, so weird. This guy has nice blue eyes. His boots are sculpted nicely. I'm not sure what his boots actually look like, but if this is what they look like, I'd believe it. It's just, I don't remember them showing his boots too much in the show, so I couldn't tell you. And then mine has a bit of a crack type thing there. That's because of the way the plastic was poured in. You could tell there's like a swirl going through. Yeah. That's not a huge problem. His foot doesn't come off or anything. And then he has this nice fabric cape, which I'm sure you have to worry about it getting dirty and catching scents and stuff like that. But as for just collecting them and setting them on your shelf, it shouldn't be too much of a problem. I could imagine, though, if you left this guy in the sun, he would get all faded. The rubber would probably get affected. I think over time the rubber will probably melt to the plastic. There will be a lot of problems with this guy over time, but currently he's in great condition and looks awesome. And I'd like to point out this is not for the sake of the crotch shot. I'm showing you, there are two different sculpts for these legs, the way their joints are made. You see how this one's like a wide one with ratchets? This one's more of a just regular type joint. I'm not sure what the story is of that. And the legs are made differently so that this one can rotate, this one cannot. I honestly am a little boggled by that myself. Weird. And I'm very glad to have this Superman because really it's my only big Superman. I mean, this is the one I've had since I was 5, and he doesn't really match up to the new NECA Superman, but it's cool to see them side by side since my entire life I've been growing up with this little piece here. No. Very nice. And the paint is pretty good. There's some like red parts that I'm not sure if it's just like dyed from the cape or something. Like you can tell there's a little red splotching on there, and then his hand looks a little red. It's weird. He's got a nice sculpt on the hand too. Okay, let's take a look at his only accessories. It's another pair of hands, which are made for flying, but I don't care for them too much, but I'll show you that in a second. And I'd like to point out they his hands have paint on the joints, and as you move the hands, the paint just like flakes off. My guess is that's sort of a last minute idea, is because when they made him, maybe a prototype version, they were like, dang, this blue part here, you can really tell that there's a difference between that and that. Oh, throw some paint on it. Well, that doesn't work if you throw too much paint on it, and then when he rotates and moves, it comes off, but whatever. It's not a huge problem, and like, just seeing him like this with that tiny blue spot, that doesn't bother me. It'll probably bother a lot of those finicky collectors, but I'm not one of them. So here's one of his flight hands, pops in, and it's a very tight fit for these hands. I would not want to like swap these hands out too much. So yeah, these are like gesturing hands or mainly flying hands. So let's have him take flight. Woo. Yeah, these hands work. I would not display them myself like this, just because I don't care for open-handed flying, because I know he did it like at the end, he's flying like this and looks at the camera, winks or something like that. He then pulls down his pants and moons everyone in the audience and says, idiots, you paid for this movie. But little did he know people enjoyed the movie. Moving on. Here's a sculpt of the hands. They look very natural. I like it. Looks like real hands. That's something you don't get too much with toys. And I wish instead of these hands he came with grabbing hands so he could like hold on to stuff, but little gripes. You could still like make him have stuff in his hands, just like have it set out like this and balance it on there, but yeah, I would have preferred holding hands. You could have him like holding a big chunk of steel. Oh, jeez. Well, it's a good thing I don't display this like that, because the joint just came out. Let me take care of that. Alright. Well, being a customizer, none of these hand problems are huge for me, because as long as that joint's still in there, that'll be an easy fix. I don't know why I would really bother fixing it, since I'm not going to display them with it, but if I ever in the future decide to sell them, I'll fix that just for that. Yeah, and then the paint problems aren't a problem for me, because I can just paint over that in my own way. What you want to do is kind of like sand the joint, like bring it down like this, add a little sandpaper, just like go up and down just to flake off every little extra piece of paint, and add a rough base for your new paint. Then once you get that in, you just add your own paint, very light brushing it, and then he should be able to move his hands without it ruining the paint. So yeah, that's why it's good to customize, guys. You get a real efficiency for this sort of stuff. Okay, I like his fisted hands better anyway, so he can really look like he's getting ready for a fight, and not too ready, because honestly, I've done boxing, and that's not really how you would hold up your hands. But then again, Superman can't actually fight. Like, you remember in the movie, I think the second movie, he loses his powers and has to fight this big jerk, and the guy just smacks him around. It's because Superman doesn't learn jujitsu or anything, when all he has to do is punch you, and you'll lose your entire life. You'll probably go flying around the earth 3 times, and end up right here in a puddle of your own human filth. So that's why Superman is great. Anyway, let's take a look at the articulation. His head can do full rotation. He can look up a fair amount. I wish he could look up more, but not a huge problem. He can look down pretty well. You can imagine him standing on like that building when he was looking down at that guy, and I don't know, nice night for something or other, and then pulled him down and gave him to a cop, something like that. He's a real narc. And then he's got head pivot, so he can look curious. Why would you do this? Is this how sick minds like yours get their kicks, Luthor? Plotting the deaths of innocent people? No, by causing the deaths of innocent people. Ooh. Yeah, that's what that head gesture's for. Ooh, yeah. Okay, moving on. Now his arms. They can move out at the shoulders to about a right angle. It can do full rotation at the shoulder. It can do full rotation at the elbow. Can move down a fair amount. Can move up to a little past the 90-degree angle, maybe. Maybe just at the 90-degree angle. Then at the other arm, not quite as much. Maybe a little under the 90-degree angle. And that's why he can't do a punching, fist standing pose. I don't know, boxing pose too well. But anyway, he's got a hinge at his wrist, so he can do some sort of scratching at the wall pose, which is useful for putting him in different punching positions, really, because, yeah. I suppose you could also have him lifting himself off the ground. Useful. Okay, it does the same on both hands, and then these hands are articulated to do exactly the same thing, so I don't think I have to show those. And then at his waist, there's a little bit of swivel, there's a little bit of side-to-side movement, just not much of anything there, but enough for it to, I guess it counts. Like, moves back that much, moves forward that much. Not a huge difference, but notable. He can do the splits quite a bit. So, like, not ridiculous Van Damme splits, but splits that are still impressive to the point where it would rip my legs apart and I'd have to go walking around with some sort of prosthetic. Yeah. And then his leg can kick forward quite a bit, so I really want to get the Batman now and make my own classic Batman versus Superman, Batman v Superman, as this new movie's called, sort of stop motion. That would be cool. Yeah, that works well. Okay, so then at the ankle he has a ball joint. I don't know if I throw... His knees can bend past a 90-degree angle. At least this one can. This one, not quite as much. Then, again, rotation here at the thigh, whereas this one can't really rotate. Weird, just different articulation parts. And then, of course, at his ankle there's a ball joint that can make it pivot a bit. It can make him move back and forth, and full rotation on both sides. So pretty useful. I'd overall say his articulation is just as good as you would need it. Yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I could say. Except for the yellow part on the back looks like it might not be quite center. Not a huge problem though, because I don't think anyone's going to really display him from the back. Display him this way. Anyway, guys, I'm a huge fan of this guy. I would highly recommend him. If you're a fan of anything Superman or DC related, I would say pick him up. If you're a N.E.C.A fan, just want to display figures in your N.E.C.A collection, he's good for that too, because he's got a great sculpt, great paint. And how many times can you set him up against an alien and make it look cool? Only with N.E.C.A, guys. Only with N.E.C.A. Mattel does not do this sort of awesomeness. Yeah. Dang, I really want to get more N.E.C.A stuff. Okay. By the way, I do not have any sort of payoff by N.E.C.A, just so you know, because if I did, I would tell you guys. I just am a huge fan. Okay, anyway, guys, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Make sure to stick around for future videos. Make sure to check out previous videos. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.